Very good morning to all my viewers. I welcome you all once again to my, online lectures. I hope children, all of you are working industriously so that during this lockdown you would be able to prepare yourself for the coming examination 2020-2021 session, okay? Now, as we have done the second part of chapter 7, I would love to begin with the next part of it. And as you have we have read in the second part of the chapter, that is the ending. I would like to recapitulate once again from see, after taking the after taking required precautions, the assistant secretary did the needful, and we have known that. Okay. Then at 11:22, 3 minutes before the examination was going to get over, Jackson called Stephens, telling him that the governor wanted to speak to him. Why? Because the governor wanted to, advise Stephens that to escort the invigilator to the main gate of the prison. And then the other advice that he had given him is that see that when you go to escort him to the main prison gate, I want you to have a special visual on if the cell is properly locked or no. So these two instructions the governor had given him on the phone. So as they were heading towards the main gate after the examination was over, children, I'm telling you, this is the second part ending. Okay, yes, recapitulating that. Stephens has a vague idea that he had suddenly grown thinner or what. I don't know. Why did Stephens feel like this? He said, looking at the invigilator, is it that? How come the invigilator is looking so thin? As Stephens walks back after having seen McClary and after giving him a see-off at the main prison gate, when he was returning back, and Stephens thought, let me have a cup of tea in the, prison canteen, okay? But as he reached the D wing, he had this thought of having, tea. So on reaching the D wing, he goes to Ivan's cell. Then suddenly he thought, I have forgotten it. Let me go have a look whether I have locked the cell of the prisoner or no. So what did he do? Presumably, he sprawled on the chair. As he went there and he found that, someone was lying on the chair. His cropped hair, his hair was all cut short, splattered all over, and that was blood was all over split. Stephens and Jackson thought that it was McClary who has been hit by Evans, and every one of them, all the officers, thought that McClary had been, wounded by Evans, and that the latter has made good his escape. And they all thought that he had made his escape. Okay, the wounded man in the cell, whom everybody took him to be McClary. Children, try to understand the second part ending. Tells the prison authorities not to worry about him, and as you were saying, not to worry about me, not to call the ambulance, neither the doctor. He was howling, isn't it, when I explained you the ending part in detail? The governor to the photocopied sheet that had been, superimposed over the last, superimposed over the last means originally blank page of the question paper where a few words were written in German language, which advised Evans to strictly follow the plan and not to hit the person too hard. And what was written in Germany language on that, last page of that question paper, which he had, immediately grabbed with his, blood-stained hand. So what was written in that? It was written that kindly strictly follow the plan and not to hit the person too hard, not to hit the invigilator who had come to invigilate you too hard. And that 3 minutes before the examination are very important. This was written in that question paper that the wounded man had, grabbed from the table. He is also advised not to overdo the Scots accent while going out of the prison. And another thing that was written in German language was that not to use, fluently the Scottish accent. The police help is sought, and when Detective Superintendent Carter approaches McClary, and we know that immediately the police help was taken, and Superintendent Carter approaches McClary. He tells the superintendent he knows, but the wounded man, he tells the superintendent Carter that he knows where Evans has gone and directs him to lead him towards Elsfield. And wounded man इस कार्टर से कहते हैं, द डिटेक्टिव से कहते हैं दैट प्लीज़ काइंडली let's move towards Elsfield Way. The governor, out of sheer bewilderment, tells the superintendent to take McClary wherever he wants to go, and the governor immediately passes an order to the superintendent Carter that wherever McClary is planning to take you, kindly take him to that direction, because he is the only person who knows that where Evans had disappeared or where he had really gone, and he knows what has really happened. Okay, so this is what we have read. This was the end of the second part. Okay, now see here, as we know that in between he calls the other two officers as what he calls them as morons. Morons means stupid people. Why did governor call them both morons? Because they have escorted themselves the victim and helped him show the way, that is to the prison gate, the main prison gate. Okay. So the governor now takes the officers to task for having behaved foolishly and calls them two morons, because he had not made any call at 11:22 a.m. When the discussion was going on, he said he did not call, but the officer was saying, Jackson was saying, it was you, sir, who called, and you wanted to speak to the junior officer because you wanted to give him orders. So after all this has been done, see now, he has called them as stupid people. Then suddenly we have seen that van has arrived, and the governor made no immediate move. He looked down again at the last line of the German, and उसमें लिखा था to the Headington roundabout in German language, because governor had also studied in class 6 Germany. Okay, so it was written that move towards the Headington roundabout. That is, Headington is a way to the university campus, children. Which university campus? Oxford University campus. Okay, so Headington is on the way to the university campus. So it was written that go towards Headington and take a round from there, and then to New Graben. Where on earth? Then the governor started thinking, where could this place be? Something New Grave, never heard of it. There was a war grave somewhere. Then he said, there is a small town named as Wargrave, but New Grave is nowhere. Then suddenly his, mind struck, and then it hit him. It's Newbury. Oh God, yes, nearby was a pretty big sort of place. And thus he rushed towards Newbury, Then as he leaped the stairs to his office, after everything was done. Take Jackson and Stephenson here, and when you get there, ask for Bell. Then he said, okay. He rapped out his orders to the driver. He called the driver, and he has given him orders saying that St. Aldate's police station, you take these two officers to St. Aldate's police station, and then go and meet Mr. Bell there. He is the chief inspector. Okay. So he left the chair. After they all left, the two officers as well as the wounded man and the driver left from here, governor was little bit in peace. He sat down. He left the stairs to his office 3 at a time. Then immediately made a call to Bell, the detective, and put the facts uske samne. He told everything, what has happened, how this man has been wounded, and how Evans had escaped. The governor sat back, and as he lit his cigarette, and he thought, hey gods, what a beautifully laid plan it had been. What a clever fellow Evans was. And he had only committed one mistake, and that is he had carelessly left the question paper on the table, and fortunately, McClary, who has been wounded, has handed it over to me, and thus I could get few clues about the person who had escaped. Till here we have done, children, yesterday. So let's begin with the third part now. The phone on his desk erupted in a strident burst. What do you mean in strident burst? Suddenly, his phone, rang loudly. And Superintendent Carter informed him that McClary had spotted Evans driving off along Elsfield Way. Then Carter immediately made a call to, the governor of HM prison that just now McClary had seen, Evans going off in another vehicle towards Elsfield Way. Now, what is this Elsfield Way? Elsfield Way is a village, beta. Okay? Civil Pash states that it's a village and it is in the center of, Oxford. In the middle of northeast direction, means center of Oxford it is. They had got the number of the car all right and had given chase immediately. So what did Carter say to governor? That McClary had seen, Evans passing, moving towards Elsfield Way, and he had noted down the number, and thus we are trying to follow this cab of Evans, but had lost him at the Headington. But again he said that unfortunately we could not find him, and exactly when we reached Headington, and I do not know where this car has disappeared and where the man in the car had disappeared. He must have doubled back into the city. So what did Carter say? Maybe he might have taken a U-turn. He might have taken again a turn back to the city. Okay, that is Headington. No, said the governor quietly. No, he's on the way to Newbury. He explained his reasons for believing so and left it at that. So what he said, governor said, no, he cannot go towards Headington. He had definitely gone towards Newbury, and thus he had even explained the reason. The governor had explained the reason to Carter that why he has that faith that he might have gone towards Newbury. So it was a police job now. So Carter said, sir, do not worry, it's our job now. We would be serious regarding this. He was just another good for a giggle. He's saying, gullible governor. Then, governor was very innocent. So even Mr. Carter also laughed at him. That was all. Now, by the way, Carter, I hope you managed to get McClary to the hospital. Then suddenly a thought struck to the governor while he was, discussing with, with Carter. He said, Carter, see, I told you to take him straight to Redcliffe. What is this Redcliffe now, children? Redcliffe is a name of a hospital, okay? So he said, I told you as he was wounded, I told you officers, all of you, to please first get him, diagnosed there. Really groggy, he's saying, I know, I do agree. He appeared to be very weak when he was, we were trying to help him out to sit in the passenger's seat that time. So he said he was looking groggy. Groggy means he was looking very weak and he was not able to walk. When he got to the examination office, now this is the reply by Carter. He said, as we reached towards the examination office, that is near the Oxford University, and they rang for the ambulance from there. And saying after reaching there, they made a call to the hospital Redcliffe to send an ambulance to help out this patient reach the hospital. The governor, this information Carter has given to the governor. So the governor immediately, he made a call to Redcliffe Hospital a few minutes after and asked for the accident department. He called up and he immediately inquired about, the accident ward, and he wanted to know, McClary, you say? Yes, he's a parson. Then they said, he's a priest. And maybe because he met an accident, so he'll definitely be in the accidental ward, the department, I don't think there's anyone. But what response did he get when he was trying to inquire? He got the response that, sir, we do not know. There's no name, there's no person by name McClary here, or there's no priest here in the hospital, in the accidental ward. Yes, there is. You will find one of your ambulance picked him up from Elsfield Way. But the governor said, definitely there is a patient there, because your ambulance, we have called for the ambulance and your ambulance has arrived, and they might have taken the patient from Elsfield Way route. Oh, that? Yes. तो सामने से जवाब क्या मिला? Okay, sir, yes, we have definitely sent an ambulance, but when we got there, the fellow had gone. So what did the hospital department give response to the governor that they did send the ambulance, but we are sorry to say that there was no patient. No one seemed to know where he was, and none of the officers, nor the people of that university, none of them knew where the man has vanished. But the governor was no longer listening, and the truth seemed to hit him with an almost physical impact somewhere in the back of his neck. Governor was surprised that the man has escaped. And this news, this reality, this truth, बहुत ही बुरी तरह से धक्का लगा गवर्नर को कि how smartly he could cheat him. He had a physical impact on his back, hit him on his back. Then he said a quarter of an hour later, फिर थोड़ी देर बाद जब he wanted to now clarify, all his doubts, exactly after 15 to 20 minutes, what they have decided, governor and some other men, they have decided to go to, the Reverend S. McClary's, residence. And as they visited his residence, what did they find? Securely bound and gagged. What did they find? They found that McClary was, made to sit on the chair and he was bound. वो बंधा हुआ था, okay, and gagged, and his face was also tied, so that he should not shout and scream. And in his study in Broad Street, when they went to Broad Street, governor went to, see if this man who had escaped from here, is he really S. McClary or somebody else? So when he went to his house, to S. McClary's house, he found that Mr. McClary, the priest, was already tied to a chair, and he had been there, he said. And when he removed all his, when he untied Mr. McClary tells the governor that since the morning 8:15 a.m., he is tied on the chair, and two men had called him. Okay, men had called, and immediately when then inquiries were being made, immediately inquiry shuru hogi throughout the afternoon, and no other work the prison department had. Nothing at all. And by tea time, everyone in the prison came to know what had happened. It had not been Evans impersonating McClary. अब वो कह रहे हैं कि वो Evans नहीं था. Okay. It was not Evans who was trying to pretend to be like McClary, who had walked out. बट वो कौन था? इट हैड बीन इवांस, जो यहाँ से गया था, जिसके चोट लगी थी, प्रिजन में से जो बाहर गए थे. इट वॉज नॉट McClary, rather it was Evans himself who was impersonating McClary, जो इमिटेट कर रहा था McClary जैसा, डिस्गाइज करके अपने आप को वो यहाँ से प्रिजन के अंदर वो रह गए, who had stayed in. Now, after some time, the fish and chips were delicious, and after gentle stroll round the center of Chipping Norton, see, we have seen that Evans had now already escaped. So Evans जहाँ भी पहुँचे हैं तो वहाँ पर वो खड़े होकर क्या कह रहे हैं? Yes, listen children, understand this part. This from here Evans is thinking of, Now thus the governor here came to know that it was not McClary who had been wounded, but rather it is the original Evans, who had, tried to imitate or tried to disguise himself like McClary, and he stayed back in the prison. Got it, children? The fish and chips were delicious. So, jahan bhi ab Evans had already reached a place somewhere. So, he's saying, wow, the fish and chips, he might have had somewhere khana, or lunch or breakfast, whatever it is. He said, wow, the hot dish, that was a fish dish, fish and chips. He said that was really, really delicious. And after a gentle stroll round the center of Chipping Norton, so he was already at Chipping Norton's, so he's saying, after having khana, he just went for a stall. टहलने के लिए चले गए थे Evans. Now Evans decided to return to the hotel. Children, there will be a different question from you. He decided now to come back to the hotel wherever he's going to, take a stay at night and have an early night. A smart new hat, conceal the wreckage of his closely cropped hair. Now, Evans was putting on again a new smart hat, and that hat of his was trying to cover up his tiny chopped hair, ऐसे उसने अपने लंबे बाल क्यों काटे थे? इसलिए ताकि स्टीफन जब उसे बाहर छोड़ने जाएं तो उसको मिस्टेक नहीं करें, वो सोचें कि मैं सही में मैक्लेरी ही हूँ और मैक्लेरी जैसे बाल उन्होंने चॉप कर लिए थे. नाउ आई होप यू अंडरस्टैंड द मिस्ट्री हियर. And he kept it on as he walked up to the reception desk of the Golden Lion, and he did not remove his hat till he reached the hotel that named as Golden Lion. And it would take a good while for his hair to regain its former glories. And now Evans is, just thinking that to get back his original hairstyle, that lengthy long hair, he's saying to get back my former glories, मेरे पहले जैसे बाल होने के लिए अब मुझे कुछ समय का इंतज़ार करना होगा. So that's what he was trying to cover his hair. On his head he had that new hat so that he could cover those chopped hair. But what the hell did that matter? Then he says hardly it matters now. He was out again, and वो अपने आप में सोचता है कि he's already out, wasn't he? A bit of bad luck that when Jackson had pinched his scissors. Now, he's saying that definitely the senior officer Jackson had, taken away his scissors, for it had meant a long and tricky operation with his only razor. So now Evans is thinking, okay, because I had to cut my hair short only with a razor now. I had only the razor because for that I was permitted to clean myself or make my beard, So he's saying only a razor was left and Jackson had taken away my scissors. If in case I would have had the scissors, I would have had my hair cut in a proper manner. But now as I had a razor, so I could not, chop my hair properly. But he had his good luck too. Just think, if Jackson had made him take his bobble hat off you, that really had been a close call. So now, Governor, he thinks that if Jackson would have, not permitted him to put on that lucky charm of his, जिसको वो lucky charm कहते हैं examination day पर, तो अगर उन्हें वो मौका नहीं देते उसको रखने का सर के ऊपर, that's really had been a close call. Still, old Jackson wasn't such a bad fellow. So Evans is thinking, and Jackson was not that bad fellow. He had allowed him to, put on that hat over his head and then appear for the examination. So I hope, children, everything's clear here by now. One of the worst things funny really had been the beard. He had always been allergic to sticking plaster, and even now his chin was irritatingly sore and red. And we all know that Evans, he loved to keep himself clean, So he's saying one funny thing is that to put that artificial beard, he wanted to have that, appearance of McClary. So he had stuck those artificial beard, with a plaster. And that was irritating him a lot. Now, as he, reached the reception of the hotel, the receptionist wasn't the same girl. And, now the receptionist was not the same girl. See, जब Evans ने book किया था room, there was a different receptionist sitting. But now when he arrived again as to enter his room to rest that particular night, because next day morning, again he has to change his place from there because the police can detect him. So the receptionist wasn't the same girl who had booked him in, but the change was definitely for the better. And the girl now has been changed there. As he collected his key, as he took the key from her, he gave her his best smile. Evans gave a beautiful smile to her. Underline these lines. Told her he would not be bothering her anymore till with breakfast, ordered the Daily Express and asked for an early morning call at 6:45. And he, advised the receptionist that around 6:45 she should give him a call and she should not disturb him for breakfast. And he ordered that Daily Express, that is the newspaper I would love to get. Tomorrow was going to be another busy day. Then he told her that because the next morning he's going to have another busy day, so he want to have a restful sleep during the night. So he advised that lady sitting as a receptionist at the counter not to disturb him. He whistled softly to himself as he was walking inside. Though as he was climbing up the stairs to get into his room, he had a sort of like the idea of being dressed up as a minister, and he was feeling very proud of himself that I am dressed like a priest now with a dog collar and everything. You know, what is this dog collar? Dog collar is a clerical collar and it is adjustable. Okay, there was, he had two collars. McClary, when McClary had been escorted by the officer, to conduct an examination or to invigilate the examinee, at that time McClary had been wearing two clerical collars, So now one collar, Evans had taken to disguise himself as McClary when he was, escaping from the prison. So he says, what is this dog collar? It is a clerical collar. Generally, it is adjustable with a button, Yes, it had been a jolly good idea for McClary to wear two black fronts. So he's saying it was a good idea. McClary, who had come to invigilate me, he had, overcoats, black fronts means, two black fronts means overcoat. He was wearing a long overcoat and two collars he had, and I think that had helped me to escape from there. Now children, I hope you understand that McClary, who had come as McClary to the prison, the McClary had been tied in his residence, and the one who had come to the prison, he was not the man, not the priest who was supposed to come, rather who has disguised himself as McClary and arrived into the prison. He is also a familiar person to Evans. It is also a part of his plan to escape from the prison. Okay, children? But that top collar, it had kept on slipping off the back stud. Now Evans is thinking, oh my God, I wore that black collar, but it was every now and then falling down. And there had been that one panicky moment when McClary had only just got his hand up to his neck in time to stop the collar springing apart before Stephens. He's saying, and when Stephens was, looking into the, when Stephens was accompanying him to see him off, that time Evans is feeling that time that collar was slipping down and Stephens was observing. I had to put my hand over it. They would have got that little problem worked out all right, though. A pen stuck in the mouth whenever the evil eye had appeared at the peephole. Then they say that whenever he was sitting inside the, prison, every now and then, there was, through the peephole, Stephens was looking through at him. But all that fiddling about under the blanket with the black front. Now, Evans is remembering all this, is saying that, and I had to, disguise myself under that bed sheet that I had taken permission from the invigilator, and I had fiddled for everything. I had, changed myself under that, everything he had to do under the bed sheet. He covered himself and he tried to change himself. That had been far more difficult than they would have ever bargained for. He's saying, that moment of me when I was trying to change myself, that was a real difficult moment for him. And rest, everything I could have definitely challenged them. I could have spoken to the officers in any manner, but the work of changing myself, taking the form of that disguise of McClary, that was a very difficult task for Evans. Everything else had gone beautifully smoothly, though. In the car, he had found everything they had promised him. Soap, water, clothes, the map. Yes, the map, of course. The Ordnance Survey map of Oxfordshire. He had got some good friends, some very clever friends, Christ. So now they're thinking, oh my God. Everything was arranged. The plan was successfully, that conspiracy, whatever they have made up, they planned, and that was, successful for Evans. He had that Ordnance Survey map of Oxfordshire. Now, I would like to tell you what is this. Is a detailed map, beta. It is made by British government. Okay. Now, what is this Ordnance Survey? It was founded in the year 1791 to provide accurate mapping, children. And the Oxfordshire area was first surveyed in 19th century. and with regular revisions since then, Ordnance Survey map have become a remarkable record of the changing landscapes. So what is this? This is a detailed map, and in the year 1791 it was founded, this map, and thus as the years passed there were some changes were being made in this detailed map. So he unlocked his bedroom door. So जैसे ही ये सारी बातें सोचते सोचते इवान्स अंदर जाते हैं अपने रूम के अंदर, एंड उन्होंने जाकर अपने रूम को अनलॉक किया, दरवाज़ा खोला, एंड एज ही लुक्ड इनसाइड ही स्टूड फ्रोजन. फ्रोजन मीन्स वो पूरी तरह से वहीं पर अकड़े हुए रह गए. टू द स्पॉट लाइक अ मैन हु हैज़ जस्ट कॉट अ ग्लिम्स ऑफ द गॉगन. बिल्कुल उसी तरह से, देयर इज अ सिमिली यूज्ड हियर, वो इसी तरह से वहीं पर स्टेयर करते हुए रह गए, बिल्कुल उसी तरह से जिस तरह से अ मैन, कोई आदमी एक झलक पा लेता है गॉर्गन की. नाउ व्हाट इज दिस गॉर्गन? गॉर्गन इज अ फीमेल क्रीचर, चिल्ड्रन, ऑफ ग्रीक. इट हैज़ नो हेयर ओवर इट, बट इट हैज़ a female woman of Greek who has no hair, but always she has snakes around over her. So that's it. They're saying जिस तरह से कोई फीमेल क्रीचर है, फीमेल लेडी को सांपों के साथ देखकर, बिकॉज शी हैज़ नो हेयर बट ऑन द हेड ऑल स्नेक्स को देखकर डर जाता है, इसी तरह से इवन व्हेन ही वाज अनलॉक द डोर ही वाज लाइक डम स्ट्रक. He was frozen there, as if he had seen a Gorgon. Gorgon is a female creature of Greek that has no hair but all snakes around. So sitting on the narrow bed, on the छोटा सा जो चारपाई था अंदर, उसके ऊपर कौन बैठा हुआ था? Last man in the world that Evans had expected, and Evans को उसी का डर था. The same man was sitting on the bed. कौन बैठे थे? It was the governor sitting there. It's not worth trying anything, said the governor, as he saw Evans standing at the door frozen. Governor said, now Evans, that's enough. You need not try anything else now, okay? Evans' eyes darted desperately, and Evans was, darted means he moved his eyes, very seriously. Desperately means very seriously. Now what should Evans do now? As from whom he was trying to escape, the man was already in his room, in the room of his hotel. Around the room, I've got men all around the place. So the governor said, listen, Evans, now you are, under my custody, and you have been surrounded with all the cops, with the policemen around. Well, there were only two really, but Evans needn't know that. And, Evans very well knew this, that there could be only two officers with the governor, because Evans पहले से जानता था कि दो बंदे आए होंगे, because it was all a part of his plan which the governor does not know. He let the words sink in, and Evans did not utter these words clearly. Women too. Didn't you think the blonde girl in reception was rather sweet? Governor said. तुमने देखा नहीं? Sorry, that the girl who was sitting at the reception, she, had that golden hair, blonde hair means golden hair. Was she not sweet? Evans was visibly shaken. Now, listening to this statement of the governor, Evans, definitely had noticed, and he was shaken, that means the girl who was the receptionist. He sat down slowly in the only chair the small room could offer. So there was a chair and there lying down in the room. Evans sat down there and is held between his hands. He, held his head between his hands. दोनों हाथों के बीच में अपना सर पकड़ लिया. For several minutes there was utter silence. There was complete silence in the room. Finally he spoke. It was that bloody correction slip, I suppose. तो then Evans ने सोच समझ कर बोला, मैं आपको जानना चाहता हूँ, इतना सब कुछ आपको पता चल गया है गवर्नर. I hope it is not that bloody correction slip that I had forgotten on the table. Well, the governor failed to mask the deep satisfaction in his voice. There are a few people who know a little German. Governor said, "Listen, Mr. Evans, the break. See, still there are people on this earth who know a bit of German. याद रखना कि मुझे भी जर्मन भाषा आती है, इसलिए मैंने वो स्लिप को पढ़ लिया था." Slowly, very slowly, Evans relaxed. Evans आराम से बैठ गए. He was beaten and like it was a surprise to him, and he knew it. He sat up at last and managed to smile ruefully. पहले तो थोड़ा सा टेंशन में आ गए. Then again he regained that strength again and he gave a ruefully, he gave a smile, to the governor. Smile, smile in a very pitiable manner. In which manner he smiled at the governor? In a very pitiable manner. And he said, it wasn't really a mistake. So what did Evans say? "Sir, sorry, it was not at all a mistake. You see, we hadn't been able to fix up any hotel. And I was not able to even decide which hotel I had to go. But we could have worked that some other way. And definitely, I would have arranged for the hotel in some other way. No. The really important thing was for the phone to ring just before the exam finished." Now keep this point in mind and underline it, children. Evans said, "Sorry, sir, it was not that correction slip. I would like to tell you, the most important thing from which I got to do whatever I need to do further, it was that moment when, the phone bell rang just 3 minutes before the exam was about to end. That is the most important clue here, to get everyone out of the way. एंड वो घंटी बजना और पुलिस वालों को सबको वहाँ से हटा देने का वो भी एक पार्ट ऑफ द प्लान था. सो वी हैड टू नो एग्जैक्टली व्हेन द एग्ज़ाम स्टार्ट, डिडंट वी? कहता है आप समझ गए ना, क्योंकि उस वो घंटी बजना और हमने जान लिया था एग्ज़ाम कितने बजे स्टार्ट होगा. दैट वाज पार्ट ऑफ आवर प्लान. एंड लाइक अ फूल आई प्रेजेंटेड यू विद दैट लिटिल पीस ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन ऑन अ प्लेट. और गवर्नर कहता है अच्छा ओके. एंड इवन्स I, like a stupid fool, have, presented. मैंने आपको परोस कर दे दी वो इन्फॉर्मेशन ऑन अ प्लेट. क्योंकि याद है जब फ़ोन आया था तो गवर्नर ने डायरेक्टली कहा था, "I will directly connect you to the senior officer and he would engage you to the invigilator inside who has to make those corrections." I hope you remember this incident. Well, somebody did. So you see, sir, that correction slip killed 2 little birds with a single stone. So उस correction slip ने 2 काम कर दिए. ओके, एक छोटे से पत्थर के साथ जैसे हमें 2 पक्षी को मार लेते हैं, इसी तरह से हुआ है. That was उस correction slip से मुझे क्या पता चला है? एक तो the name of the hotel for me, and the other thing that he came to know, that was the exam time, the exact time the exam started for. कितने बजे एग्ज़ाम शुरू हुआ है? 2:25 पे, isn't it? Which was supposed to start around 2:15. That was a bit late. So he said, "Oh God," the governor, nodded. "It's a pretty common word." He's saying, "Okay. Good job. Common, pretty common, sir," Evans ने कहा. "I had never have known way to come to, would I?" अगर मुझे उस समय the timings I would not have known and that slip में होटल का नाम नहीं मुझे प्राप्त होता तो फिर Jum Golden Loan, I hope you remember now. So it is the name of the hotel where Evans had taken shelter for that particular night, the day, the same day when he's caught now red-handed by the governor. So now Evans ने कहा, "How did you know which golden lion it was?" Then Evans questioned, the governor that, "Sir, how did you come to know which golden lion it was?" There's hundreds of them. And Evans ने कहा, "Sir, इस जगह पर, there are Chipping Norton में there are hundreds of hotels named, Golden Leon, Jim Golden Leon." Then he said, "Same as you, Evans." Governor said, "Evans, the way you came to know the index number 313, underline this, center number 271, remember 6 figures. And if you take an ordnance survey map, अगर तुम ordnance survey map for Oxfordshire देखेंगे तो आपको इन 6 डिजिट्स को मिलाकर क्या पता चलता है? 6 फिगर रेफरेंस है 313/271. This number lands us directly to the middle of Chipping Norton. So इसलिए हम चिपिंग नॉटन, ये बहुत ही फेमस जगह है. इट इज़ अ मार्केट टाउन. ओके, इट इज़ अ मार्केट टाउन एंड यहीं पर वो होटल हो सकता है. तो इसलिए गवर्नर ने कहा कि मैं सीधा चिपिंग नॉटन आ गया, क्योंकि व्हेन आई लुक्ड एट ऑर्डिनेंस सर्वे मैप फॉर ऑक्सफोर्डशायर, मैं ऑक्सफोर्ड का ऑर्डिनेंस सर्वे मैप, डिटेल्ड मैप जब देखा, उसमें ये 6 डिजिट्स को मैंने मिलाया. तो 6 डिजिट्स मिलाने के बाद उस मैप में पता चला कि ये जगह कहाँ की है? चिपिंग नॉटन. एंड इट इज़ अ वेरी फेमस मार्केट देयर. ओके, market town hai this is. It is one of the towns of that place, Oxford place, and it is a market, very famous market there. And is saying that's the reason I straight away headed towards Chipping Norton. And I, the girl who was sitting at the reception, she was, known to me, and so thus I got the key and entered the hotel. Yeah, you are right. Yeah, we had opened. You had run off to Newbury. So he said, yes, you are right. तुम न्यूबरी चले जाते. गवर्नर ने कहा, वी डिड, हम गए थे. वेल, दैट्स समथिंग, आई सपोज. दैट क्वेश्चन पेपर, Evans, could you really understand all that German? I could hardly. Then Governor said to Evans, see, the question paper was in German language. Were you able to understand German clearly? No. He said, no. Of course, I couldn't. I knew roughly. मैं थोड़ा बहुत जानता था जितना मुझे सिखाया गया था. What it was all about. But we just opened. It had. Throw a few spanners in the works. He's saying, 2-4 शब्द जर्मन के आते थे. Okay, so throw a few spanners in the works. It is an idiom used here, children. Underline this idiom. And you may get in the examination even for your MCQs. Throw a few spanners in the works means it is used in UK, children. It was to muddle you people. So what do you mean to throw spanners here and there means कि आपको बेवकूफ़ बनाने का वो ज़रिया था. You know, it was a sort of muddle everybody a bit. This was only to get you people fall into some confusion. The governor stood up. Tell me one thing before we go. गवर्नर ने कहा चलो अब जाने से पहले मैं तुम्हें यहाँ से ले जाऊँ बंदी बनाकर, उससे पहले I would like to ask you the last question. How on earth did you get all that blood to pour over your head? Tell me, Evans. अपने सर पर तुमने इतना खून फैलाया था. How was it possible for you to get the blood inside the prison? Now, children, understand these important clues. Evans suddenly looked a little happier. Evans gave a smile. Clever, sir. Very intelligent you are, sir. Very clever that was, How to get a couple of pints of blood into a cell? He said, very, very true, sir. It's very difficult to bring blood inside the cell. When there is none there to start off with, and when the invigilator, shall we say, gets searched before he comes in, and is saying, and दूसरी बात गवर्नर ने कहा और फिर इन्विजिलेटर जो अंदर आए उनको भी हमने चेक किया, तुम्हें भी किया था. You both were investigated properly before the commencement of the examination? Yes, sir, Evans said. You can well ask about that, and I don't know if I ought to tell you. He's saying, yes, sir, you can ask me about that, and now I ought to tell you. I'll definitely tell you. After all, I might want to use that particular, and that was also part of my plan. Anything to do with a little rubber ring for piles, perhaps? Then he asked, see that rubber ring the invigilator was carrying along with him? Was that rubber ring useful for piles or something? Evans grinned feebly. Evans, gave a wide smile to, the governor. Clever, though, wasn't it? Must have been a tricky job sticking a couple of pins, no? He said, गवर्नर कहने लगे इवान से, बड़ी परेशानी हुई होगी, बहुत दिक्कत आएगी. इट माइट हैव बीन अ ग्रेट प्रॉब्लम फॉर यू to stick that blood, all over your head, here and there, and then the droplets of blood falling. No, you have got it wrong, sir. He said, no, sorry, sir. You have understood it wrong. No problem about that. No, it's the clotting. उसने कहा it was a clotting. Blood dry हो गया था. That's the big trouble. We got the blood easy enough. Now, Evans कहने लगे, बहुत आसानी से हमें blood मिल गया था. And वो खून किसका था? That blood we have, poured into that tube. That was the pig's blood, and that we have collected from the slaughterhouse in Kidlington. कहने लगा, Evans ने कहा, this blood, I got it collected in the tube from Kidlington, and that blood was from the slaughterhouse. Then he said, but to stop it clotting, अब के खून जम नहीं जाए, you have got to mix your actual blood. और वो खून जमे नहीं, सूख नहीं जाए, तो इसे हमें ओरिजिनल ब्लड मिलाने की उसमें ज़रूरत थी. तो Evans took a breath, उसने लंबी सी सांस ली. तो then what did I do? With 1/10 of its own volume of 3.8% trisodium citrate. Didn't know that, did you, sir? कहता ये सब मिलाया मैंने, एंड तब उस खून को वेट रखा गया, एंड सो दैट आई कुड यूज़ इट ओवर माई hair, and it left it splitting over my collars and over my face. Oof, the governor shook his head in a token of reluctant admiration. The governor's head was turning off. What a clever guy this Evans is. And he reluctantly he said, no, I didn't know that ऐसा भी किया जा सकता है. We learn something new every day, they tell me. Come on, lad. So the governor said, हर रोज़ हम पुलिस वालों को कुछ ना कुछ नया सीखने को मिलता है. This is how every day when we are behind the criminals or behind the victims, we come to know every day a new thing, Evans made no show of resistance, and when he said, okay, lad, let's go now. So उसने मना नहीं किया, and side by side the two men walked slowly down the stairs. दोनों एक दूसरे के पास हाथ में हाथ पकड़े वो नीचे ले जा रहा था उसको. Tell me, Evans, how did you manage to plan all this business? Then the governor asked Evans, last question I want to know, how did you plan up all this? You have had no visitors, and I remember in the prison I have not given you a chance to welcome any visitors there in the prison. But how did you manage all this? I have seen to that. You have had no letters, Governor ने कहा, and you had no mails even in the prison. I have not permitted you to receive any mails. Evans कहता है, now listen very carefully, this is the response he had given. He said, I have got lots of friends. What's that supposed to mean? इसका मतलब क्या है? Mean German teacher for a start. चलो मैं शुरू से बताता हूँ. मेरे लिए जो जर्मन टीचर आया था मुझे पढ़ाने के लिए जेल में, वो मेरा दोस्त था. You mean? But he was from the technical college, wasn't he? Evans was almost enjoying it all now. He was enjoying the scene when the governor was getting startled and shocked and surprised listening to the response given by Evans the break. Ever check up on him, sir? Evans asked. Governor, that, sir, did you ever check up that German teacher? No, you did not check. Then the governor said, oh, God Almighty, there is far more going on than I. He said, okay, that means जितना कि मैं अपना दिमाग को भगा सकूं, चला सकूं, उससे कहीं ज़्यादा Evans का दिमाग चल रहा है. He thought, his brain is more witty than me. Always will be, sir. He said, everything ready. गवर्नर ने फट से अपने दो रिसेप्शनिस्ट की तरफ बढ़ते हुए बोला कि everything is ready. I hope you have, we are going to check out from this hotel now. The van's out in front, sir. The receptionist said, sir, the van is, halted out, said the pretty blonde receptionist. Evans winked at her. Evans ने मस्ती में, सुंदर सी लड़की थी, golden है, उसने उसको आंख मार दिया. He winked at her, and in return, Evans also got the response. She too winked him back. It almost made his day. A pretty girl winked at a young guy, so he was very excited, and that made his day. A silent prison officer handcuffed the recaptured Evans. अब एक साइलेंटली प्रिजन ऑफिसर बाहर खड़ा था, उसने दोबारा से पकड़ा गया इवांस जो है, उसने जल्दी से उसको हथकड़ी लगा दी, क्योंकि गवर्नर साथ में थे. नेचुरली द ऑफिसर हैव टू गेट हिम हैंडकफ्ड मीन्स हथकड़ी लगा देना. ओके, एंड टुगेदर द टू मेन क्लैम्बर्ड ऑकवर्डली, एंड बिकॉज जब हथकड़ी लग जाती है दोनों के, पुलिस ऑफिसर के हाथ में होता है, एंड he is handcuffed, so both the officer as well as Evans climbed the police van, the prison van, clambered, धीरे धीरे awkwardly चढ़ रहे थे, क्योंकि दोनों को एट अ टाइम चढ़ना था गाड़ी के अंदर. See you soon, Evans, governor said. Evans, I'll meet you in the prison. It was almost as if the governor was saying farewell to an old friend after cocktail party. बहुत खुश होकर गवर्नर ने सी ऑफ किया कि चलो अब ये गाड़ी सीधी पुलिस स्टेशन आएगी वापस. बट ऐसा लग रहा था कि गवर्नर वॉज गिविंग सी ऑफ टू एन ओल्ड फ्रेंड आफ्टर अ कॉकटेल पार्टी. ओके, देन ही सेड cheerio sir. Evans gave a response to the governor saying that good day sir, goodbye to you. Aye, there, I was just wondering. I know your German's pretty good. So what did he say? जाते जाते कहने लगा, Sir, I know very well that you have studied in class 6 the German language and your Germany is very good. Your German language is very good. But sir, do you know any more other these modern languages? तो जाते जाते he questioned the governor कि Sir, I would like to know, other than German, do you know any other modern languages? He said, not very well. Then governor said, why do you want to know whether I know other languages or no? Evans settled himself comfortably on the seat of the prison van. बैठते बैठते वो मुस्कुराने लगे. Grinned happily means खुशी से मुस्कुराए वो. Okay, nothing really sir, कुछ ऐसी कोई अहम बात नहीं है. I just happened to notice that you have got some O-level Italian classes coming next September. Underline this statement, this context. So Evans ने कहा, मुझे लग रहा है कि आने वाले सितंबर तक O-level Italian classes लगानी पड़ेंगी आपको अपनी प्रिजन में. इसका मतलब क्या है कि Maybe I would be caught and आप दोबारा जब मैं जेल आऊँगा तो I would definitely again plan up something to again break the prison. So perhaps you won't be with us next September. गवर्नर ने कहा, तू चिंता मत कर बेटा. You are not going to be with us till September. Evans, James Roderick Evans, this was his name, appeared to ponder. And जब गवर्नर ने ये कहा कि सितंबर तक तू यहाँ रहेगा नहीं बेटा, you would be shifted to some other jail. James Redrock Evans, he was pondering. He was thinking, he began to think, the governor's words deeply. He began to think, कि गवर्नर क्या कह रहा है. No, perhaps I won't, he said. He said, नहीं चिंता मत कीजिए sir. As the prison van turned right, गवर्नर तो अपनी गाड़ी में, he left towards the Oxford prison, HM prison, and the prison van in which Evans was made to sit with an officer handcuffed. Okay? जैसे टर्न हुआ राइट फ्रॉम चिपिंग नॉटन, इस मार्केट से जैसे वो टर्न हुए टुवर्ड्स द ऑक्सफोर्ड रोड, उस यूनिवर्सिटी रोड की तरफ, hitherto silent person, जो अभी तक till now the officer who was silently standing there out of the hotel, that Leon Hotel was there, so he was standing there out silently. That officer now, that silent prison officer, till now, who was silently performing all his activities, immediately unlocked the handcuffs. उसने फट से इवांस के कड़ी जो हथकड़ी थी उसको खोल दिया and leaned forward और आगे को यूं करके झुके towards the driver और told him and he gave an instruction to the to the driver, for Christ's sake get a move on. उसने हाथ खोलते ही क्या बोला? See, oh, for God's sake, जल्दी से चलाइए, go little more quicker, go little faster, it won't take them long to find us. He said, if we get late even 5 minutes more than the exact time of reaching the prison, all the prison employees or the prison officers would be behind us and they would be able to detect us again and they would, they would handcuff us once again. Where do you suggest we make for? Then the driver asked, Sir, where we are supposed to go now? Please, I would love to get instruction from you, asked the driver. So what was the response? In a broad Scottish accent. वही स्कॉटिश भाषा में जवाब मिला. तो यहाँ कौन बैठे हुए थे? नकली मैक्लेरे थे. ओके, दैट मीन्स ही वॉज डुप्लीकेट थे ये उसके. सम नकली जो चेंज इन अ डिस्गाइज्ड फॉर्म वो आए थे. What about Newbury? Then he said, let's move towards Newbury, suggested Evans. तो Evans ने कहा, let's move towards Newbury. And this Newbury timings he never knew, all was his part of plan. It is foolproof plan. Thus, once again, Evans had, made an escape. So now you can see that the man who was, driving the vehicle of that prison van driver, he was McClary. Okay, Nakli McClary बैठे हुए थे. This is how once again, children. So though the governor was successful in arresting him, but could not help admiring his ingenuity. On being asked, Evans managed to plan all this from his prison cell. He tells, I've got lots of friends. He says, as he told, and he had even told the governor that from the German teacher till the end, all were very familiar faces to Evans, and thus with the help of all these members, he had escaped once again, though he was, in the clutches of the governor. Okay, but it appears to be more of a farewell. तो एक फेयरवेल की तरह था. गवर्नर ने खुद ने उसको गाड़ी में बिठा दिया. वंस अगेन द मोमेंट दे आर रेड ऑफ द गवर्नर, द सो कॉल्ड प्रिजन ऑफिसर, फ्रेंड ऑफ Evans, unlocks the handcuffs and asks the driver to move fast, and Evans tells him to turn to Newbury. Okay, Evans thus has the last laugh by befooling the governor once again and escaping, from his clutches. So thus the chapter ends here. I hope, children, you have understood that McClary, who had arrived into the prison cell as an invigilator, वो एक नकली McClary थे, and the original McClary was tied at Broad Street in his residence. उसको बाउंड कर दिया था, बंदी बना लिया गया था. And the German teacher who had arrived, he was also a friend of Evans. Okay, the silent officer who was standing out of the hotel gate, he was also a friend of Evans. Thus, the whole conspiracy was, planned successfully, and thus he made an escape once again. So with this, we end the chapter, children. Now, I would love to, discuss the character sketch of Evans. Okay, you can get a question on his character sketch. So let's talk about the answer. As you all know, Evans is a sort of a person not given to tantrums and does not believe in violence. Okay, so in the Oxford prison, he regularly participated in various functions He's congenital kleptomania and has been sent to the jail on earlier occasions also. But before being sent to Oxford prison, he had already made 3 times escape from the jail by breaking the jail thrice. So, among the Oxford prison officers, he is popularly known as Evans the Break. All the officers in the prison call him as Evans the Break. Currently, he is preparing for the O-level German examination. As we have read in the chapter, is a part of his 4th jailbreak. This is the 4th time he is breaking the jail. He has something magnetic about his personality and has many friends within the prison premises and various other departments outside the prison. When towards the close of the story, the governor asks him how he could manage all that, so Evans himself admitted, I have got lot of friends. Though he is capable of winning affection of the concerned people. In the words of the author, the senior prison officer and Evans are warm enemies, we have read, isn't it? And he is called Little Einstein by Jackson. The governor too is appreciative of Evans' innovative mind, and the governor also is visible to appreciate him number of times. Evans has presence of mind and a quick wit enough to think of the right answers at critical moments. Evans calling his bobble hat a lucky charm is just a part of his escape, part of his plan. But it disarms Jackson and he does not insist on him to remove it. And with his, how he blackmails him with his words, that reflects that Jackson was carried by his words and he did not ask him to, he did not get, strict, and he did not ask him to remove his hat and thus allowed him to put on and appear for his examination. He is capable of seeing things, and all through the escape game, he is always a few steps ahead of the prison authorities. He believes fighting the finish and wants his adversaries fully vanquished. His handing over the paper giving information about the hotel where he is going to stay after escape to the governor is worth appreciating. So this all was a part of his plan. One can't help admiring the intelligent manner in which he manages his final escape from right under the governor's nose. And the last part, the ending of the chapter, shows that, it shows his wit and intelligence of Evans, where from the under the nose of the governor he had once again made an escape. In short, it won't be wrong to say that Evans is a genius. Okay? So that means he can get over any sort of obstacles in his life. This is all about Evans' character, children. So if we talk about the governor now, the character of governor, these are few important characters. You can write it yourself even, but still you should know few points. See, the governor of Oxford prison is an officer of average intelligence, but unfortunately he overestimates himself, but he thinks that he is too intelligent. Rather than taking extra precaution like budging the cell of Evans, he should have tried to understand Evans. Within his heart of hearts, he is acutely conscious. He is very conscious. He appears to be very conscious, the governor. He is somehow sure that Evans does not mean to escape and thus misunderstands his intentions, उसको लगा था कि he would not be escaping. He won't be doing wrong to say that he is a poor judge of others' character. So it is said that the governor is a poor judge of others' character because he failed to judge him. The vital matters needing his personal attention are often left to others by him. Searching McClary, checking off Evans' cell, escorting the so-called wounded McClary needed the governor's personal attention, but were neglected by him. See what all he asked the junior officers to do, to put things into practice. The same should have been, practiced by the governor himself. It was childish on his part to take for granted Stephen's observation regarding the identity of the wounded person in the cell. Knowing how intelligent Evans is, he should have thoroughly and closely examined the wounded man. But he was casual about it. Thus, at critical moments, he fails to comprehend the gravity of the situation. Okay? He shows intelligence and, power by correctly locating the hotel where Evans is to, rest from the slip handed over to him in the cell. But here too he leaves vital issues in the hands of others and does not accompany Evans to the prison. See, at the end also, rather than taking the prisoner along with him, he once again hands over the prisoners to the officers, and eventually he loses him at the end. In short, Governor's assessment about himself that he is just another good for a gullible governor is 100% correct. So this is a true, I should say, expression used for the governor in the chapter. So with this, I end the third part of the explanation with the characters of these two persons, that is Evans as well as Jackson. Okay, for you to remember the point.